I want to bring into the conversation Ambassador Anthony Gardner. He is live in London in a Fox Business exclusive. And of course, he was the U.S. ambassador to the European Union. So we are thrilled that you're joining us. Give me your initial gut reaction and sense of what happens next, Ambassador.
It was great to be back on the program. Clearly a humiliating defeat, which is the result, I hate to say it, of over 2 years of failing to be straight with the British people about the real choices on the table and the costs and the benefits of each of those options. But we are where we are. I think she's going to be under enormous pressure now to make two statements. The first is that the country, the UK, will not crash out without a deal. There is a pressure from the business community to make that statement because of the consequences of crashing out without a deal. The second is that there will be a request to extend the Article 50 process because more time clearly is needed. The result of today's vote, which was dramatic, the government was hoping for maybe losing by 50, maybe 100 max. She lost by over 200 votes. The consequences of this stem from a game of chicken that went really badly wrong.
Oh, yeah.
She was saying, you accept my deal or, catastrophe. The problem is a lot of the factions actually want there to be a no deal in the case of the hard leavers. In the case of Labour, they want defeat for the government to table a no-confidence motion. And there's some who believe that saying no to her deal will result in a people's vote.
Yeah, well, we were just showing video of the actual moment. And then I don't know if you guys saw the video earlier of Theresa May where she literally went like, you could see the frustration. And Ambassador, that leads me to the question, how much of the fault lies on her shoulders when it comes to a failure of proper and clear, concise communication of the pros and the cons to explain this? I'm not on the ground there, but could that job have been done more effectively?
Well, in my view, absolutely yes. I've been following this for 2 years. A lot of delusions were entertained, unfortunately, by all sides, but particularly, I think, by this government, not being straight about really what the UK's negotiating leverage was and is, what the EU could possibly accept, and what the consequences of the real decisions of the options on the table were. So, in my view, a lot of unnecessary time has been wasted. She can now go back and seek to get further clarifications from the EU, which sounds like what she intends to do. But there's not much more that the EU can do beyond what it has already said in a letter that was sent by the presidents of the European Commission and the European Council yesterday to May, in which they tried to clarify what this backstop means, and that they intend, together with the UK, to make it temporary, and that it would be replaced. As you're talking, Ambassador, as you're speaking, I do just want to give an update. The European banks are mostly lower, except for Deutsche Bank, which is up 0.25%. But none of these are UK banks at the moment on the screen. We do have our Dow Jones Industrials up 133 points. And as you're talking, I don't know if we can put up what Theresa May's Brexit deal was, but in essence, it allowed a relationship to continue with the European Union involving this cross-border trade with Northern Ireland and Ireland. You would have to, though, be beholden to the EU's regulations and pay some. Look, it's like being part of a golf club. If you leave the golf club, you don't get to play there anymore, but you don't have to pay the dues. But if you leave the golf club and want to pay on occasion and play on occasion, you're still subject to their rules. Is that sort of the problem that people who voted no on this had? I think you put your finger on it. The problem for many years has been the UK, when it still is a member of the EU, has tried to have all the benefits of not being a member through a lot of opt-outs. Now it took a decision to leave, but wanted to have all the benefits of being a member. You can't have it both ways. If you leave, you actually leave. And her deal tried to straddle this uncomfortable position of being out, but actually being in for many purposes, right? The problem has been, as you said, the backstop. Many people had hoped that the UK would have a unilateral right of decision to terminate the backstop. And the EU said, no, we can't do that. we will issue this clarification to say that we will work expeditiously for an alternative arrangement, a free trade agreement that will make the backstop no longer necessary. And if we can't reach that deal by December 2020, either we extend the transition or we will continue to negotiate to a deal that will no longer make it necessary. But the UK cannot have a unilateral right to terminate it.
Ambassador, great to have you. Thank you for staying up late there. We do appreciate it. Ambassador Anthony Gardner. And I do just want to quickly let you know that the Brexit spokesperson says Prime Minister Theresa May cannot carry on with this deal.